Richard Van Slater was born on May 19, 1951 and born on October 18, 2018. He was better known by his ring name Dirty Dick Slater, was an American professional wrestler who wrestled in the 1970s, 1980s, and mid-1990s for various promotions including Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling and World Championship Wrestling, WCW. Slater began wrestling with Mike Graham at Robinson High School, in Tampa, Florida. He attended the University of Tampa with Paul Orndorff. From there he began wrestling in Championship Wrestling from Florida and Georgia Championship Wrestling. He worked as a booker in Knoxville, Tennessee after Ron Fuller sold his promotion to Jim Barnett. He wrestled in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, later World Championship Wrestling, where he appeared on the first Starrcade. He also worked in Mid-South Wrestling Association, where he was managed by Dark Journey. Made some trips to the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. He wrestled briefly in the World Wrestling Federation as a babyface under a rebel gimmick, but soon returned to WCW. He wrestled there until receiving his back injury that ended his career. Slater began wrestling in 1968 with Mike Graham at Robinson High School in Tampa, Florida. Eddie Graham purchased a wrestling mat for his high school and started a high school wrestling program there. He wrestled for an organization called the AAU, a program that trained young wrestlers to go to the Olympics. Slater went to the University of Tampa where he played football. In addition to wrestling, among his teammates was John Matuszak and Paul Orndorff. He had a chance to play football for the Miami Dolphins but declined the opportunity, deciding to wrestle instead. After going to a National AAU meet, he was approached by Mike Graham, who asked him if he wanted to become a professional wrestler. Slater decided to go to the Sportatorium in Tampa to train as a professional wrestler. There, he was trained by Jack Brisco, Bob Roop, Hiro Matsuda, and Bill Watts. Slater also became good friends with Dick Murdoch around this time. Slater began working for Championship Wrestling from Florida, which was run by Eddie Graham. He stayed there for 3 years and won the NWA Florida Tag Team Championship, with Dusty Rhodes, Stan Vacan, Toru Tanaka, and Johnny Weaver, and the NWA Florida Television Championship. In 1983, Slater was working in Knoxville, Tennessee for Ron Fuller when Jim Barnett approached Slater with the idea of booking a television show in Atlanta for Ted Turner. At the same time, Jim Crockett was buying out Jim Barnett, thus, Slater started working for Crockett. Around the same time, Dusty Rhodes, one of Slater's many tag team partners, became a booker for Crockett. Slater teamed up with Bob Orton, Jr., and began a feud with Ric Flair where they attacked with an aided by driver in an attempt to end his career. The team collected a bounty from Harley Race, the reigning NWA World Heavyweight Champion, for apparently ending Flair's career. Flair would return and attack Slater and Orton. While Flair would go on to fight Race at Starrcade for the championship, Orton and Slater were placed in a tag team match with Mark Youngblood and Wahoo McDaniel, who sought retribution on Slater and Orton for attacking their friend Flair. At the event, Slater and Orton were victorious over Youngblood and McDaniel after Orton superplexed Youngblood. While in Mid-South, Slater engaged in a lengthy feud with Jake Roberts, who would DDT Dark Journey in one of their matches. Slater would also win the Mid-South North American Championship, the Mid-South Television Championship, and the UWF World Television Championship. Shortly after his match with Mirko, the WWF began to use him as a jobber. His last televised appearance in WWF was on the May 4, 1987 episode of Primetime Wrestling, where he lost to Butch Reed. He died at 67 years old.